kind of taking what we've talked about, I want to change the lens a little bit into more of an application mode. So now that we know a little bit more about the D profile, let's talk about how we can work with them and what we can do ourselves to mitigate their frustrations, play on their strengths, and to help them avoid their own weaknesses. So we know as people, generally in our reptilian brains, that we are fear-based creatures, and everybody typically has a different deep-rooted fear that they're afraid of. So for Ds, they want to control situations. They are drivers, therefore they do not want to be taken advantage of with others. And so kind of thinking about this, thinking about the past slide for their weaknesses or things they dislike, how can we mitigate this fear with our D clients? How do we make them feel like they're not getting taken advantage of, like they are in control and that they're making a good choice? So I want to kind of open that up to discussion from you guys.
Straight. Make sure you tell all the pros and cons of what's going on so that they can trust you. I told I got one of my first clients by telling them something. I got one of my first clients by telling them something that I was honest about, maybe why not to buy a house, and then they felt like they could trust me because I was shooting them straight. I wasn't just trying to sell them something.
What else?
Not trying to sell them, being concise. They feel like you're trying to convince them of something that's your idea, back to what you said. You don't have to loosen them with too many words.
Use questions instead of statements.
Yeah, that's huge. Asking them questions. If we're just telling them what to do, now we've taken that driver's seat from them, and that makes them uncomfortable. Therefore, we're out of rapport.
I think something that's really important to consider with a high D personality is how much they value results over time. And I think a lot of what drives their persistence to get things done is a certain amount of impatience for results. So in my experience working with high Ds, it's best to set plans in place with if this, then that functions, and then give them accurate timelines so that they can figure out how to hit their goals within a period of time that they can predict and plan on.
Powerful, because we're hitting multiple birds with one stone, right? We're removing, if we know that they're typically impatient people and we give them the roadmap and we set expectations properly about how long things can take, you're now removing that objection from later of, hey, you're not working fast enough on this, or why didn't this happen? You've already set that up front, knowing that they tend to be impatient and value time. So I think that's huge, Honeycutt. What else can we do?
At least have the perception of control. We are, like what you're saying, we like guide them to stuff. Let them make those decisions, and kind of stroke their ego a little bit. Like, let them know, like, hey, you're a smart guy, you or gal, whatever. You can make this decision. I'm just going to provide you the information. Like, let them know you're working for them, and have that driver's seat.
Love that.
I think it's important that, like, when you present them any information that you do have, or introduce them to like a lender or anybody, that like that person is very like holds your reputation very high, because if they like mess up in any way, they don't communicate quickly, the D's gonna be like, all right, screw you, like you just pointed me some schmuck later.
Yeah, I would say missed calls and missed opportunity is a big thing with these. Like, if you set an appointment for them to talk to a lender and that lender doesn't show up, you're done. Like, they're over it. They're gonna find someone that can find a lender that will show up. So being very, very like on point as far as timeline, is, like Honeycutt said, very important, because like you said, productivity base is one of their biggest drivers in life.
I can give you guys a really good example of somebody who did a good job identifying me as a high D. In case you guys aren't aware, this is me to a T. So we're working on this sponsorship deal right now. And I went to the first meeting, and they kind of like tried to put something in front, like, here's what we think would be good for you. And they saw my reaction to it, and it wasn't a favorable reaction. And I set up a follow-up meeting. And the follow-up meeting, they were like, here's the options, you tell us what you want. Instead of trying to like assume what I wanted. So they basically gave me the control back, which made me feel like I was, in control of the situation. It made me feel better about it, that I was picking and choosing what I wanted in terms of the sponsorship, as opposed to them kind of guessing what I wanted. And so the fact that they kicked the control back to me made me feel better about the situation, and we're a lot closer to a resolution after that meeting than we were after the first meeting.
That's a great example, and something that I've noticed too in role plays a lot, at least this past couple of weeks, is we're doing a lot of telling. So the more that we can tell, we can give people the options of, hey, here's the next steps. We can do this, this, and this, or this, and this. Kind of back to what Matt Honeycutt said. If we do this, then this. If we do this, then that. How would you like to proceed? It gives them the control back, the control that Kyle wanted in that situation, and it positions you as an expert because you have multiple options to give them. So rather than just telling them, hey, this is the steps, this is what we do in your consults or in your listing appointments, give them a couple different options, even if they're technically the same option and you word them a little bit differently, or you have to give them the opportunity to make the choice for themselves, or you're going to fall out of rapport with them.
Yeah, they definitely fear someone that lacks credibility. And something that's really benefited me the past couple of weeks, last week, we met with Moses and started looking at the high note stuff. And I actually had a guy who was working with a Redfin agent, and I basically told him, hey, it's good to evaluate your options. You want to know what's out there. Not every agent has the same tools in their toolbox to help you find the right home. Sent him the high note, and then him and JC went and saw a house in the next 2 days.
Yeah, so that choice is super powerful. Any other thoughts on this? I think the biggest thing too, if you can just boil it down to one thing, is you have to be confident. And if you're not confident, you can fake it till you make it, but you won't even get the opportunity to work with them in the first place if you don't present yourself as an authority figure. So if you don't feel like you're an authority figure, I think, do some more research. Prepare for the meeting, do some research on the person. If you feel intimidated by them, where do they work? What are some other things that I can maybe pick up in conversation that will help me feel more confident? Anything you can do to prep yourself to show up as your best self is going to help you really convert these clients and work well with them. Ryan, you can move on.